Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called thereisonlyonefootball.com, guys. They've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone. All that sporting stuff you can wear anywhere you want to wear it, guys. That's right. And don't forget the website it's on, thereisonlyonefootball.com.
There is only one football!
Hup, feel it. Hup, here we go, guys. Check it out. Hup. If you're listening right now, I've got some great news for you guys. Some people won't be happy. Some people will be happy. Some people won't be happy. You got your opinions, that's fine. Here we go. Hup, check it out. Hey! The cup of life. This is the one. Now is the time. Don't ever stop. We should've known. Gotta be strong. We should've known. Right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it. Here we go. I see it in your eyes. You want the cup of life. Not the days here, you're gonna get it. Do you really want it? Tell me right now, people. Here we go. Ale, ale, ale. Go, go, go. Ale, ale, ale. Tonight's the night. We're gonna celebrate. Here we go. We are the people. We are the passion. We are the history. We come from the NSL, and that's where the NSL is right now, guys. We're going to be back in the NSL very shortly, guys. Thank you, guys. Right now, I just thought I'd come online. If you listen to me right now, guys, I thought I'd come online because I got some great news today, and a lot of people aren't going to be happy, of course. I'm just going to make sure a couple of people get on right now. As you can see, we have a brand new system here. It's looking fantastic. You may be seeing on my left-hand side, on my right-hand side, I think it is, FA opens expressions of interest for a national football second tier. As far as I'm concerned, it is an NSL. It's an NSL. As you can see, these clubs, these boys on the front here, they're former NSL clubs, guys. Of course, you can see one of the South Melbourne captains there, of course. I'm not going to mention names, but I'm just going to make sure that I get this message out today so everyone can listen to what's happening. And we are putting our hands up. Yes, footballers are putting their hands up to get involved in the NSL, or the second tier, if you want to call it that, guys. We want to be involved. We are talking to people about this, and hopefully it's going to be an amazing journey through the NSL, guys, or well, second tier, if you want to call it as well. So let me just get onto the other site there to actually post some stuff so people can actually listen to this as well. I'd like to read a few little things from the excerpt on the news as well, guys. So as you can see, our sponsors, CCD Lawyers, and There Is Only One Football. Don't forget, guys, as you can see, my left-hand side, right-hand side, these are fantastic shirts that were worn by the NSL clubs. We're hoping that they wear them in the second division. It's the second coming. As far as I'm concerned, as the NSL, you can scream as much as you like, guys, but they're the clubs that made the game. They're the clubs that actually were the foundation clubs of the first competition, national competition in this country, and that's what we're looking for right now. So if you clubs are looking at these shirts, There Is Only One Football, of course, thereisonlyonefootball.com on the bottom there, guys. If you want to get on there and you want to talk to someone about getting these shirts as supporters for your second division or the second NSL coming of the NSL, they're available now, guys, on There's Only One Football. That's where they're available. I'm just going right now to the former supporter sites to put this information up as well. We've got the information up, so if you're listening right now, please check out these shirts. You can buy them online. There Is Only One Football, guys. Have a look at these amazing shirts, guys. You will not find this quality anywhere. So get on There's Only One Football, guys. So I'm just getting on to our...
School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome right now to Football S Live tonight via the whole world. That's right, we're from America, the USA. Of course, we're in England as well, all around the world, guys, on Facebook. Good evening, everyone. Welcome right now if you listen to us all over the world. Hey, check it out. Feel it. Check it out, guys. Welcome. What a massive guest. How many massive guests we got tonight, guys? The cup of life. This is the one. Now is the time. Don't never stop. Here we go. We should've known, gotta be strong. We should've known, right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it. I see it in your eyes, you want the cup of life. Now today's here, you're gonna get it. Do you really want it? Tell me right now, people, here we go. Here we go, hey. Here we go. I welcome people right now, guys. We are the people. We are the passion. We are the soccer people of this country, or football, if you want to call it that way. It's our way, the highway, gentlemen. It's our way, the highway. Tonight, we'd like to welcome right now, guys, right now, our special guest tonight, Mr. Joe Mirabella, former president of Brunswick Juventus, and, of course, 12% shareholder of Melbourne Victory. Welcome, Joe. There he is, Joe standing up there. Joe standing up. And, of course, we've got the Tony Goodwin, the Socceroo Dad. Welcome, Tony, from South Australia.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, this is going to be a lot more intros here. There's, of course, Carlos Bielli, of course, the Lone Ranger from Planet Football New South Wales. Welcome, Carlos. I'm still going, guys. I'm still going. There's another one here. We've got the amazing Kenny Wilson, the amazing football Scotsman. Welcome, Kenny. I'm sure that's amazing, you guys. Honestly, it's one of those nights where we have to talk about something that we spoke to Joe about a few months ago at Brunswick Juventus. We're all sort of like out. How can I say this? We're all out in the open. We don't know what's happening. We want to find out. What have you got there, Joe, for us? There's a drink. Oh, sorry.
I'm doing my dinner.
Sorry, Joe. Well, no worries, Joe. But let me just say, everyone out there, you know, we're down to set 26 teams. We're wondering about the criteria. We spoke to Joe a few months ago, and, you know, September they're saying we're going to find out the 16 teams. I'm saying 16 teams. Some people are saying 10, 12, 16. I'm saying 16, just in case for insurance-wise. Now, of course, Joe, we still don't know what's going on, and we did speak about that down there at Brunswick Juventus. What's your opinion still? You did say something about we're not going to go into this criteria the way it was. You think that James Johnson and the FA have changed it, Joe?
Look, there's no criteria out as of up to 4 o'clock this afternoon.
My God.
So I can't see them starting in March 2024. Because, one, you're going to have to give the clubs the criteria, tell them what system they're going to be playing. When will promotion and relegation come? Is it going to be semi-professional? Is it going to be professional? And then after that, if it's professional, they were supposed to do a second division professional.
Yes.
From day one. Now, if they do that, as I've always said, the cost will be anywhere from $4 million to $5 million a year. Because you have to put players on professional contract full-time, coaches full-time, general manager or a CEO full-time, financial person full-time, marketing and sponsorship full-time. So it'll cost $5 million to run that.
Now, I'm gonna bring Kenny on to ask you some questions. Now, Kenny, I know what you said last week, but this is going to a continuation of what we've got to find out.
I'm so glad someone's actually come on and said actually close to what it's really going to cost. You know, we spoke to Gemma last week.
Raby
and the budget was $1.5 million. Really, for a professional full time, and I know Joe was just saying that the criteria hasn't really been set. But it was you were led to believe in the original application when everyone had to chip in $5,000 to the FA to peruse the applications that it was a full-time contract, 12 months operating, which meant you need to have grounds for 12 months, etc., etc. You need full-time administration. And anyone that thinks they can run that at $1.5 million is totally, is off the planet. So. Going back to what Joe says, obviously, the majority of these teams, the 26 teams, there'll be teams, like obviously Juventus, Joe's team, Apia, Olympic, Marconi, probably a couple of the Melbourne teams. They will be able to, a lot of them will be able to come up with it in year one. But it's not year one that you're worried about. It's year 2, 3, 4 and 5 when it's costing $5-7 million every year. Every year. And we've been talking for a long time, Harry.
Yes,
we're the only country in the world that we're funding our professional teams, our top level teams from the bottom up. Doesn't happen in any other country in the world. And only because we get guys like Joe that's prepared to throw money in his own pocket does it actually survive. And we've got to come to a logical financial situation that clubs can be sustained in the long term. I mean, all these teams want to be in the A League. I don't know why. There's 7 spots available in the A League at the moment. 4 new spots: Newcastle, Brisbane, and Perth. My understanding is the Mariners bought that license for $7 million.
Which club was this at?
Sorry?
Which club is $7 million?
They bought the Mariners bought the license from the previous owner, $7 million. That was my understanding. So
which club? Which club's this for?
Mariners, Central Coast.
I'm not aware of that.
Because they obviously bought it from the previous guy who just wanted out. And I would suggest that Perth would be a fire sale. I'd suggest Brisbane will be a fire sale. Yes. And I'd just like to mention, Harry, you've got Joe on under false pretences. He thought he was coming on to MasterChef tonight.
I see what he's doing. I see what he's doing. Now, Joe,
I saw you the team that ready.
But I can give you an update. I know that they're trying to see Ross Peligro is a personal friend of mine, so I know that they're trying to sell Newcastle to him.
Yeah.
And he's come back to me and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Ross, you're dealing with a club that is going to be hard to get your sponsors." And he goes, "Well, I'll get my suppliers as sponsors." He said, I said, "You're in Newcastle." He goes, "Well, I'll buy Melbourne Victory, or I'll do the second division team that we were always dreaming of doing." He said, "But someone's told him that if you buy a second division team, it's never going up." I said, "Well, they could be right because no one knows what's happening here and there." But then I told him, I said, "Ross, if you buy Newcastle," he goes, "Well, they're looking at 12. For me to buy Newcastle at 12 million. I said, "One, you haven't got a guaranteed ground lease. Secondly, your TV dollars," and I know this for Melbourne Victory, but it's public knowledge, your TV dollars will be reduced next year. So the salary cap dollars will have to come down. And if they don't come down, clubs can't survive because you won't be getting your distribution. I believe we'll be getting $1 million less from the TV rights than what we were getting before. That's already a financial problem to clubs.
The issue you've got is that players have got contracts, and we've now got a players' union. There's no way in the world that players who have got 2 and 3 year contracts are going to take a pay cut.
I agree with that. But what happens here is, so every club every A-League club will have about 7 to 8 fixed players on contracts, whether it's to go for a further 2 or 3 years. But now we get into the interesting part, because you cannot force clubs to go bankrupt. So what will happen is new players that are going to be signing contracts are not going to be getting the money that they think that they were going to get.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I don't know where Danny's coming out of, Danny Townsend. He wants to sell free licenses to $25 million.
25 million, yeah.
Yeah. Now, people who have got money, people who want to invest, or clubs that want to invest, are not stupid. If you want 25 million, you need another 15 million to set up and have your cash flow behind you. So there's 40. And has he told them your TV dollars aren't going to be what they used to be? You're getting $1 million less. So it already makes it. We're in dream world if we think we are going to get people buying clubs for 25 million.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's insulting, from an intelligence perspective, if Danny did say that it's 25 million. A Toyota's worth $5,000. No one pays $10,000 for it; they pay $5,000. So why would you pay 25 million for a license that's worth 12 million. Everyone else paid 12 or 14. You can
No. Just to let you know, the original ones was about 1 or 2 million. Then they jumped to 4 or 5. Then, okay, the game was becoming better, so the licenses were worth 10. Look, I'm a Melbourne Victory's owner, and 777, who's trying to buy us out.
Gee.
The value of Melbourne Victory with what they want to pay to the shareholders works out to $40 million. So if Melbourne Victory is worth $40 million, and Melbourne Victory, you are talking about 27,000 members. This year was our disaster year of crowd attendance, and I think we came in at 7,500 attendance between your high and lows. So you're talking about the strongest club which is following the country. So if that's worth $40 million, a new licence cannot be worth more than 10.
But why would you?
Because Melbourne Victory's got the infrastructure. No, pardon?
When you can buy Newcastle, Perth, or Brisbane for a lot less than that, why would you take a new licence? Why wouldn't you buy a current licence?
Correct.
You can buy at a discount.
Yeah, you're right. So you're saying now you look at the club. So if Melbourne Victory is worth 40 million, it's got infrastructure, it's got everything set up. It's and those figures are not lying, because 777 has come in. They've bought the first 19% of shares. They've got another 4 years to decide to take up the other 80% of shares, or they'll leave it. So the value's there, and you'd know if Victory is worth 40, that means the one Sydney West is worth 30 million. Sydney FC you bring down to 25 million. Why would I buy a club more than 10? Because one, I have to spend 15 million of my own money to bring in the infrastructure and so on. So it's not business wise. That's why I said, why would you buy a new club, 25 million, put another 15 million, 40 million, and still not be guaranteed of crowds? Look at MacArthur. I've heard.
Joe, we spoke about this before. Unfortunately, the A-League supporters are fair weather supporters. They go to the home games, but they don't travel. They don't travel. You know, I was a guest of the one Central Coast Mariners against Sydney FC, right at the high point of the season. The crowd was probably 6,500, 7,000. There was probably 800 or 900 Sydney FC supporters. Now, keep in mind, Sydney FC's average home support is about 12 to 14, and it's only 45 minutes up the freeway, and only 700 came to the game, away fans.
Yeah.
It doesn't stack up. They don't have I keep saying to Harry, the passion's not there.
No.
If they're not going to travel home and away, I don't mean flying, it's a little bit different. But certainly, if you're playing in Melbourne and Melbourne Victory fans are going to Melbourne City and the United games, they all should travel to the games. There should be 3 or 4 or 5,000 away supporters going to the games. That doesn't happen.
Now, I want to bring Carlos on, because Carlos, there he is. I want to bring you on, Carlos, to ask a few questions to Joe about the second division. The other thing, Joe, is that we still don't even know what part of the second division or NSL2's played, and this is one thing that you said they're talking about September, and it doesn't make sense to me, Carlos.
Look, I want to rebut Kenny's comments about people choosing not to travel away. 45. It is true, Sydney to Gosford is 45 minutes up the expressway, but it costs you close to $40 worth of tolls, plus it's an expensive day out for the most hardcore supporters. I think the clubs have to start thinking outside the square, and the reason we're not travelling is because it's not because we don't want to travel. It is times the tide, and it's $40 worth of tolls. I pay every day $35 worth of tolls to go to work.
Oh my God!
If I don't do it, it takes me 2.5 hours.
Oh.
So I think the clubs have to start thinking outside the square, and why not rent 3 coaches and sell at $5 a seat? Then you get the people. So in defence of the fickle supporters, I think cost is an issue for many of us, today and last year and the year before, where it is to go and watch Sydney FC play at Gosford. When you factor all the costs, it's a $80 outing. So a lot of people just don't have it. So it's up to the clubs. I don't know. I would have organised a couple of coaches, and what a better way to go on a bus with a couple of larrikins. But anyway, so that's in defence of the travelling fans. In relation to the second division, I don't think I believe it will happen. I believe even if the clubs have a budget of say $1.5 million to run the season, there'd be enough players and coaches willing to come to that club. I will say, if I was a coach with an A-League license and I had the opportunity to come to, I don't know, Oakley Cannons to coach, and the chairman says, look, we don't have any money because we have to pay the players, will you do it for nothing? I'll go, I'm sure I'll do it for nothing because I want to prove myself. I want to prove myself at the highest level. I think the budget, it is what it is. The club will set a budget, and they will find the players and the staff willing to come to that club because of the vision and the project.
We'll find that out in a minute. We'll find that out soon because Newcastle
now-
Can I answer
Yes.
that? Because I'm involved in both sides. Because as I said, past president of Brunswick Juventus, major sponsor of Brunswick Juventus, so I know both levels. My son's godfather, ex-president of South Melbourne, so I know what South Melbourne spends. I know what Heidelberg spends, and being involved in the Italian community, Mark Coney spends $1.5 million now without travel expenses, without higher pay players. So this $1.5 million, let's cut it out. If you're going to tell me that an A-League coach hasn't got a job, he's going to come and coach a second division club for nothing, we're dreaming. That will not happen. That will not happen.
No, what I'm saying is a lot of coaches in the state league, who are qualified, but have never, because of the small number of teams in the A League, opportunities are limited. So there'll be a lot of people who are doing really well and very capable individuals who will be willing to come and coach for next to nothing. A lot of people have other jobs. Coaching is not your full-time occupation. You will have
okay. So now let's go on this coaching side. I'll just go into the coaching side, right? We still have it because there's a lot. The first thing, is the competition going to be a full-time professional competition for players and coaches, or is it going to be part-time? And if it's going to be part-time, you still will not be able to do it with $1.5 million because South Melbourne spends $1.5 million at the moment. There's no travelling costs. Well, I'm sure that they're up there. I know for a fact Apia and Marconi are spending that much. There's no travelling costs. So are you going to get us the clubs? Is it 16? Is it 12? Are we going to do a conference system where there's 3 different conferences and then we go back into a national? So we've got to establish what type of second division it's going to be. What is going to be the goal for the second division? I've been told now around the traps from somebody that works in FA, right, that they are going to be requiring a $1 million into their account, not for the license fee, just as a guarantee. Right. And then I said, and he goes, I would be looking at minimum $500,000 to $600,000 for the. I said, well, you big-headed nobody. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you can't start saying you want to charge this, this, and this, and they haven't even started to kick the ball. And then we're hearing that we're going to run it for $1.5 million. $1.5 million, just leave them in the NPL the way they are at the moment. Yes. Leave the clubs in the NPL and let them play the NPL championship at the end of the year, because that way they don't have, that way it's still considered a second division. Because if we want to do a proper second division, you have to do a proper second division to establish within the next 5 to 10 to 15 years where do we want Australian football to go. Do we still want to keep it at the level it is now? We're losing TV supporters for a fact. I know that in the A-League, we've got 50% TV viewers less than what we had the year before. So the game's going backwards. So that means any business person, same in my business, when something's going backwards, people are accountable. They have to start answering and saying, how do we fix it?
That's a bit funny, Joe, what you just said about 1.5 million. Kenny, and of course, I go to Tony. Tony, you even Tony heard this last week about Raby Graham talking about exactly the same as what you just said, Joe. So that means that Raby was quite correct about what you said, Joe. Very close, Tony, wasn't it? The way he said it, 1.5 million. Yeah.
The good thing is what Joe's saying is filling in the gaps for a lot of people like us that don't see that side of the game. We have presumptions there at the front line, so they get to see it. I mean, if I was putting money on a bet to say which way would it go, I would say it'd be the semi-professional if I was going to bet on it, because that would be less risk-free, I guess you could say, because if you're going to go professional, then you've got to be paying all these players to possibly leave their current jobs. And are they going to risk quitting their jobs to go professional, and at the end of the year a club pulls out and they've lost their job? And there's a major risk factor in that, not just for the owners but for the players, to find those guys. I mean, there's going to be a lot of great guys come from the NPL, but I mean, you can't just have an NPL team, you know, a club of current NPL like we have in South Australia, to make that jump and then play big teams in Victoria. Then it's not going to match up with it. So they're going to have to find extra players, and those players are going to have to be full-time professionals. But then your second-string players are going to have to quit their jobs and become full-time professionals. And then, of course, you've got all your staff. So that would be the model that I would say would be the one that would most be likely to work, because we have to make this work for it to go forward. If we go full professional and it fails, there's no going back.
Joe,
and
I agree with Tony what he's saying. But then I do agree, if we do go semi-professional with professional, if we're going to run the players and the coaches as semi-professional, and with a goal that within 3 to 5 years, you've got the opportunity to go to professional and go into the A-League, our costs are still going to be around $2.5 million. Look, we've sat down, I know the Brunswick Juventus, we've worked as semi-professional, right, with coaches, coaching staff, and visa players as professional, going around to schools, the communities and so on for the game, because visa players will have to be on a professional contract as a full-time worker. Our minimum has come to be in the middle of the ladder, $2.5 million, because I said, don't think that Marconi and Apia, I said maybe South, but Marconi is not going to go in this second division to come second or third. They're going to be fighting to finish first. So the budgets will be already set. You'll need $2.5 million as a semi-professional. Your travel costs and hotel costs, if they're not covered by the federation, you're looking anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000, if not $1 million. Because every time you play interstate, you will have to go one day before the game. You have to pay for the hotel. You're going to have to pay for 25 tickets just between players and coaches. You got to pay for food, got to pay for the bus fare up and back. We're not talking something cheap. A minimum will be $2.5 million. And that's without FA demanding guarantees from directors or from clubs in an account, and demanding a license fee. Because if they start to demand license fees of $500,000 and a guarantee of $1 million in the bank so that the player doesn't get paid.
Yeah, but that, Joe, in fairness, that should have been disclosed at the very beginning of this, because you know what they've done.
Correct.
All they've done is give you lip service to get people to go away. They don't want a second division. You know that, and I know that. They've basically just they've tried to put up as many roadblocks as possible. Now, you know, you're a businessman. You know what it is. Disclosure is the most important part. If they had said at the beginning there's going to be a license fee for the second division NPL, then immediately it wouldn't have gone anywhere, because the teams are going, well, all you're really forming is a second-day league without promotion. And 2034 is the date when the licenses allow relegation and promotion. So
No.
No
Okay,
way.
now I'll correct you on that, because I've had arguments with a lot of people. Now, I know as the current A-League, David Gullett and Stephen Lowy, and it was even carried through from Chris Niku. By the way, the current chairman that FA has got, I have to respect him, because he would love to see a second division, professional, but as long as it can be sustainable and with promotion. And I've had this discussion with him at lunch in front of someone else. He said, my dream would be to see a professional second division with the ambition of those clubs to go into the A-League and have a promotion and relegation. But there is something signed that the clubs know, that before 2034, they're guaranteed until 2034 to stay into the league at this stage. But FA can overrule and introduce a promotion and relegation at any time.
There you go.
So what does that mean, Joe? That's chicken and
the
egg.
Independent A-League can jump up and down all they want, and I know, and say, no, there's no promotion and relegation. But FA can step in and say, there will be promotion up, and then we will have relegation, because all clubs have signed to that.
Well, how have they signed to it? They've got a license agreement that states that they've got a license till 2034. That's chicken and egg. You can't possibly have funded, whatever it might have been, 2 million, 5 million, 12 million, on the basis of business that you've got a contract that stipulates you will be in the A-League to 2034. It's quite clear. I've seen one of the licenses.
That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of controversies here now, because I'm aware of the 2034.
I mean, let me say, Joe, you're obviously Melbourne Victory. You would have had lawyers go through the contract, and you would have checked it before you put your money up, yeah?
Yeah, the best thing when unfortunately, we won the wooden spoon 2 years ago, and the first thing that Anthony Di Pietro said to the coach and to all the players, he said, if we were and I'll never forget these words, he said to the players and the coach, if we were in a real football league, like it is in Europe and around Asia and mostly around all the world, we would have finished last and you guys would have been relegated today. You would be fighting to come back up. He said, fortunately that there's no relegation in this league and we haven't been relegated.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So this was one of the best, the best chairman he's had.
Yeah.
Won the most, but he's come out and he's been honest. And he's got a soccer background, so he knows.
I'll bring Carlos. You got some more for Joe?
Well, at the moment, until the punters know what the rules of the game are, we can't really know. I think once we know who the club, and look, I'll start again. I think at the moment NPL in Sydney, I'm not sure about Melbourne. There's a few clubs that pull in the crowds, but others survive on a sponsorship, and they'll be lucky to get 100 people per game on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And when the second division comes, I think there will be a novelty factor for these clubs that will get in the crowds once again, hopefully. But I do worry about the NPL clubs who are left behind in the restructure, because they will certainly struggle to crowd figures. So at the moment, I'm all for it. I'd like to know more detail, and I think once the details are known and the punter knows, I think people will support the second division because of the novelty factor, and we need something exciting.
You know what's happened, Carlos, in fairness, my club at heart, Sydney Olympic, I'd love to see them back to when I played, 16, 17,000. The reality is,
they're a club that can bring 10,000 people to the ground if they're winning.
yeah,
even today.
Exactly.
But but Joe, what's happened is, you know, I'm as worse as anyone thinking back historically, because I played in front of that, and I played in front of the passionate Greeks. But I have to say that with the amount of press, and Tony Rossetti promotes Apia unbelievably well.
Yeah.
Unbelievably well. All the chairman, he drives Apia like you wouldn't believe. We played, you know, we had a Legends game there before, you know, Olympic and Apia before the NPL game. They promoted the life for it. They promoted the absolute life for it. New second division's coming up. You know, we're obviously, we've made the application. Olympic did the same. They've got Laurie McKenna there, and Laurie's a genius. You know, he should be he was a politician, but he's exceptionally good in that side of football, you know, business. It's still not getting engaged. The fans, I mean, that was the perfect opportunity for the fans to come out and say, this is what you'll get if we get into a national second division. This is what will happen. And you know what? Olympic against Marconi, you know, 284 people. Embarrassing. It's hand on heart, it's embarrassing. You know? And the reality is that I suppose, I mean, it's a little bit different. I mean, I can't speak for Melbourne, Joe, and the Italian community over there, but certainly, you know, the third generations of Greeks and Italians down in Sydney, they're doing a lot of other things now. You know, they're watching Aussie rules. They weren't doing that in the 70s and 80s. They were following Marconi, Apia, Olympic.
What you're telling me, you're 100%. That's why I said, until they decide which way the second division is going to go, I would not form a second division unless there will be promotion to the A-League. I'm not saying relegate, but promotion to the A-League to commence within 3 to 5 years. They've got to give them a guideline. Okay,
you're right.
Year 3, there's going to be promotion. We're going to go until 18 teams into the A-League. And then after that, the bottom team's coming down. So that way the existing clubs know that for the next 5 years they're safe. But not only that, I've got friends that follow Sydney FC, and the AFL, which I didn't believe this would happen in New South Wales. The AFL, they've got their kids playing AFL because the AFL is into all the schools there in Sydney. And he said to me, Joe, he goes, I've never been to an AFL match in my life. He goes, my dad's come here after World War II. We used to go and see Sydney Acoa, then it was called Eastern Suburbs. He goes, and he goes, and we go and see Sydney FC. He goes, but my kids wanted to play Aussie rules because the AFL has sink their heads into the schools in New South Wales. And he goes, to play Aussie rules, it doesn't cost $2,500 to $3,500 for a kid. You're talking about $200. And he goes, and not only that, every family, every kid that plays gets a family pass for 2 adults and 2 kids to go and watch any 8 AFL games, whether it's Sydney or they got Greater Western Sydney there, whichever team you follow. And he goes, and that's nothing. I said, well, Jesus, where are they getting the money? He goes, oh, no, that hasn't finished there. And if you bury for Sydney Swans, the kid will get a Sydney Swan jumper and a scarf.
Oh, boy.
The point you're making, Joe,
now, the point what I want to say is, this is my point. I've told this to DiPietro. I've told this to other people. And I think that's why DiPietro's left, because he's had enough of this game. But I said to people, I'll be around here when most of the people will be leaving. We received from the APL has received $110 million to market and promote the game. Now, 20 million of that has gone to FA, 10 million has gone into 40 million of that money has gone into creating an app, Keep Up, or Kept Out, or whatever they want to call it. 40 million. So let's say they're left with 70 million. The TV deal that's been done by the APL is a disaster because, as I said, 50% of people are not less viewers than what they were the year before. So that's commence of a disaster. Our juniors, our registered juniors, are, if not 2 times, 3 times more than the AFL. So we've got more juniors. If we want to get crowds, get that $70 million, then what you do is say, in every state, we're going to give every junior player, and even if we do start the NPL, we're going to give every junior player a decision to go and see. If it's in Melbourne, they've got a choice of Melbourne City, Western United, Melbourne Victory in the A-League. And let's say you've got 4 teams. You've got South Melbourne, Brunswick Juventus, Melbourne Knights, and Heidelberg out of Victoria. So we're going to give every junior kid with his family a scarf and not to 8 games, to every home game.
Yes.
In that league. That bumps up your numbers, and as we know, once the kids start to watch our game and go to the grounds, they'll be forcing mum and dad to go and watch it. It becomes, from 7 years old, they're following, I'm going to say Melbourne Victory, and when they hit 14, they'll be still going to the game because it's become their passion. It's like a smoker. When he starts smoking, it's very hard to get rid of.
Joe, let me say one thing to you, and Tony will tell you this as well. After the World Cup, right, we saw how big it was, right, during the World Cup, people going to the games late at night and everything. And let me say about Craig Goodwin, Tony's son, what they were doing in Adelaide, and the FA, not the FA, but the APL could not follow up on this. Tony, can you please tell Joe about what they were doing at the ground with Craig after the games? My God, I couldn't follow it up.
I can't remember we played. We had a massive crowd. I mean, we did have great crowds for most of the year. But after the game, he spent an hour and a half on the pitch going around to see every single kid until there was none left. And you think that there'd be other clubs with players like that, obviously, getting the same recognition, but it's not promoted.
That's what the game needs.
Yep.
You've got an ex-Sydney Olympic player there, and he knows that what the players used to do in the NSL in those days to get crowds in. So now what Craig's done, we don't need it from Craig. We need it from every player, from every club. They're on a professional contract. They're full-time. They're getting paid big dollars. We needed that, and we still need that because the World Cup's starting for the Matildas. But I would be demanding that every A-League player be at the games, not only the Australian games for the Matildas, every Women's League's game, and going to shake everyone's hand and getting them involved. Because we need this to happen again.
But the great thing, the one great thing that the NSL did, common sense tells you, on a Saturday, or kids, and lots of fathers as well, because even myself, I mean, I'm still playing over 45s. We're all playing between 11 o'clock and we finish at 4:45 on a Saturday. NSL in the old days, we played on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So, other than the women's game, which is playing on Sunday, and understand that, but it allows all the men and kids to be able to come to a game on a Sunday. I don't know about you, but at 4:45 when I'm finished playing, I have a beer, I go and have a shower. There's no way in the world I'm driving 45 minutes in to watch Sydney FC at 7 o'clock. It makes no commercial sense. And they keep doing it, and they keep, obviously, to try and suit the TV, but they've got to move the games to suit their participation. Exactly what you said, Joe. If we don't do that, they're playing first. They're going to play, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. If you want to play, then you want to watch. And if you don't allow the space or the day that allows you to do that, it ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen. I mean, the great thing, a great point you made. AFL fund from the top down.
Yeah.
They're renowned for doing it. That's why they're so successful. Top down. Central Coast Mariners are starting to do what you're saying. When I went there, they're giving the kids scarves. They're really engaging with the local community.
That's what we need.
Fantastic job.
Yeah. Look, the Sydney people can say to me, if they would say that AFL was going to be something big in New South Wales, they would have said never in a million years. But now we've got kids playing AFL in New South Wales, going to see the Swans and Greater Western Sydney. Our game, which has got, if not double but triple of AFL juniors more than the AFL, why don't we start to do that? Bums on seats, people watching the TV, getting the kids involved. And what's wrong with Sunday? Look, I've got two 7-year-old kids. They're playing for Brunswick Juventus because where I played, and one of them still wears number 8, which I used to wear at the club. All right. And I said, why'd you give him 8? They said, well, we had to continue the tradition. Now, they go and watch Melbourne Victory play. All right. But if it's on a Friday night, the kids have to stay home. There's no way, there's no way. We go on Saturday. And my wife says, why don't we do Sundays like when I grew up and I used to go and watch South Melbourne play on a Sunday? Why don't they do that in the A-League? I said, it's not up to me because there's TV dollars. Because she goes, on a Sunday, it's perfect. We can have lunch. We all get in the car and go and watch the game.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it's bums on seats that count. I mean,
yeah,
right.
we've got it. We cannot compete against ourselves. And that's what we're doing. We've got the greatest participation sport in the world.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get the A-League to play an hour and a half after most of their games finish that you're playing at. Your amateurs and your kids. I mean, I know the young kids play 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but the fathers who are the ones that take them to the games are playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
I remember playing at 12 o'clock on a Sunday and straight up, and the game would finish by 1:30, but you were straight from there, going straight to watch Brunswick Juventus, whether it was at Olympic Village or at Middle Park or at Olympic Park. There was no ifs and buts about it, and that was when I was 15. Right? And there was no way my dad said, as soon as the game's finished, we're going straight to the ground. But before that, there used to be a rule. I think we used to finish by 12 o'clock was the last kickoff in those days.
Yeah.
And so as I said, we've really got to have a revamp of the whole game.
Carlos wants to say something. Carlos, you there?
Look, there's two things. I think 20 years ago we didn't have the saturation coverage and the choice of coverage to watch the game from our lounges. When Foxtel, that's number one. So you had to go there or you missed out. Now we have choices. I could watch NPL TV on a Sunday without leaving my lounge. When Foxtel lost the rights to the EPL, 900,000 people walked out of Foxtel to go to Optus because the downward trend in TV sponsorship started when Foxtel lost the rights to the EPL because those 900,000 people were also watching the A-League before the game on the Saturday for the EPL. So then the television coverage has been truncated. We have Stan doing one competition. So the rot started, for the amount of money the A-League gets if it's judged on viewing numbers, began when Foxtel lost the rights to the EPL because then 900,000 people walked and as many people joined Optus to watch the EPL because of the appeal of the glamour of the EPL. So, and then we have the downside of having coverage on streaming service and NPL TV and all that. It is many people are choosing to stay at home to watch the games because they have a choice. 30 years ago, you had to go and watch Kenny play or you missed out, or anyone else.
This is, Carlos, what you're saying is social media is actually saturated viewing it at home.
Well, that's the downside. That's the downside. Yeah.
I know where Carlos is coming from, but I go back again to what I said at the beginning of the show. This comes down to the passion of the supporter. There's nothing like being at a live game. It's not the same as sitting in front. Ask Tony. He went to the World Cup. There's nothing like being at the game. The atmosphere, the passion, the singing. That you don't get that watching on TV. I mean, that's what makes, I suppose, the EPL and all the major competitions around the world. They've got all this. They've got all the social media. But Rangers and Celtic just put their season tickets on sale yesterday. Celtic sold in 1 hour, 62,000 went in 1 hour. Rangers capacity, 58,000, sold out in 25 minutes. You cannot get a ticket. 1 year, gone. Man United's the same, Liverpool's the same. I mean, there's some corporate stuff you can get, but you can't get a ticket for Henstead because people want to go for the experience. I mean, I get the people that want to be, lounge room lizards, but that's not who we're going for. We're going for the passionate soccer football guys and families who want to be there. That's why the Swans. I mean, you can watch the Swans games, you can watch rugby league on TV, but you go to the games and the whole engagement makes you want to go again. It's an experience.
Joe, I want to ask you, Joe. Go on, Joe.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Carlton's playing Collingwood sellout. Don't bother to buy it. It's a sellout. Now, kids and everyone want the experience of the game is what everyone wants. Right. I got it with my kids. They want to go and see Melbourne Victory play, and they get upset when they're playing on a Friday night because they say, you're not coming on a Friday night because you're going to fall asleep. But they're in front of the TV. And that's why I said the Saturday and Sunday they want to go because they love the experience. They love the way the crowd screams and that. But as I said, this is all falling back. And when you've got this is falling back and you've also got your TV viewers falling back, there's a problem. It's like in business. If all of a sudden my sales at Woolworths for private label, the Mirabella brand, the Globes, are going backwards, I've got to say, why are they going backwards? Oh, because there's online shopping. Okay, but Woolworths has got online shopping as well. So we've got to start to ask a question because I'm not sure about the NRL, so I don't know how that operates. If their crowds are up and so on, and people don't. But I know with the AFL, big clubs, the games are sold out. TV rights, their TV viewing is up. Their TV dollars are incredible. They're giving away tickets and there's a passion. In Victoria, there's a passion to go and watch it. Now, our game, there is no more passion. The crowds are down, as I said to you. We've got to turn that around. And we can't say because Stephen Lowy walked away. Okay, Lowy's had the passion for the game because they were soccer people and the figures were up there. But we're starting to see now, Melbourne Victory derbies with Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City derbies pulling 16, 70,000. This used to pull in 50,000.
Yes.
Not 50. When you talk to me about 16,000, that was the old derby between Brunswick Juventus and Melbourne Knights because you don't want to know how many used to go and see South Melbourne and Heidelberg. So, NSL days, we are getting today NSL crowds. So when people are telling me, what's the difference between the old days in the NSL and today? You got the same crowds. Because in the NSL days, the Sydney Olympic was playing Apia, be 15,000 people at the ground. If Brunswick Juventus was playing South Melbourne, you'd have 15,000 people at the ground. Melbourne Knights would play somebody, you'd have 10,000. Melbourne Knights would play Sydney Olympic, you'd have 6,000 to 7,000 because no one would travel, which was understandable. But they could watch the replay on SBS. So we are today, the A-League started very strong because we were dying for a good A-League. But unfortunately, we have to accept the facts that the people are not coming and are not watching the game.
Joe, the thing about that is that I looked at pricing as well, the pricing, and I understand.
Look, I get upset when we say pricing because it's not really. Look, if the other clubs are selling tickets more than what Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City are selling, well, then they're asking for their own punishment.
Yes.
We don't have that. The APL says you've got to sell your tickets at $50. Now, it's up to the clubs to put whatever prices they want. Now, Melbourne Victory's prices are less than an AFL game. Melbourne City is less than an AFL game. All right? So it's not that we're more expensive than an AFL game. Now, I'm not sure about the Sydney clubs. And if they are, it's their own problem because that means they really don't want to put it. But I gave you the theory. When we're not getting people at the ground and we can't, people that love playing our game, not going to the games, do what the AFL is doing. Every junior playing in Victoria will get, and if the B League's there, will get, which team do you follow? You're following Brunswick Juventus. You're getting a family ticket to every Brunswick Juventus game in the B League. And who do you follow? Melbourne City in the A League. And you're getting a family pass to every A League game that Melbourne City's playing in Melbourne. Also, we're giving your kids 2 jumpers and 2 scarves. Now, as an owner of the club, I'm going to be saying, well, I'm going to be out of pocket. No, use the money that the marketing companies give them to promote it. Get the APL to go to the club and say, okay, we've just had 40,000 people registered for Victory, and we're giving you, out of those 40,000 people, we're going to give you $1 million, 2 million, to help you financially. But you're going to have bums on seats. And bums on seats, the kids will force the parents to go every week the year after and the year after that to go and watch Melbourne Victory and Sydney Olympic in the B League. And that's what we all do in business. Mirabella had to give money away to get onto the shelves. And we had to do that for marketing because our competitors were already there. So to knock off your competitors, you had to drive marketing dollars to get your product on there. And a lot of ex-Europeans or ex-migrants, which most of us are in this country, they're all market leaders in their own businesses, and it wasn't given to them. They had to work at it, they had to market their products, and they had to get there where they are today. And what I'm saying is, our sport from being number 2, you'd say it'd be number 15 today, because cricket's better than that. Any sport you talk about is promoted more than what our sport is.
And it's true what you said, Joe. It's true, exactly. And the APL need to do something during the World Cup. I mean, I've not seen much promotion at the World Cup on TV. SEN Radio in Melbourne are pushing it every day. Why can't we get something happening? And at this stage too, guys, we've thought that we will get something out of this World Cup, the Men's World Cup. This is the biggest opportunity. It's in this country. People are going to flock to the games, and they need to express, and all competitions of football need to express and do something, because there's women who are playing in the team are coming from their NPL clubs and also the A-League clubs. So they must all get involved, like you said, Joe. They must all get involved, players and everything.
Yeah, I've got to say, you're talking about the Women's World Cup coming up.
Yes.
We today, in the National Sydney newspaper, had a front page for soccer, women's. And you know what it said?
What did it say?
It was FIFA are asking for money from the local councils.
Oh my God!
To be able to show on the big screen the games.
Oh God!
And the local councils are basically saying, "Get nicked. We're going to do it anyway." Front page of the Telegraph. Front page. Last week, centre page of the Sunday Herald. It was the Telegraph. Sunday Telegraph. Centre page, double page of we're not supposed to call them the Matildas from 1975 because that wasn't registered at the time.
Yes.
But the first Australian women's team of 1975, double page. Now they've picked up a massive sponsorship from Puma.
And
massive.
You told me, Kenny, I know.
Massive. And let me tell you something. Watch this space. There's a couple of things that's going to be happening. Puma have got so actively involved that they're backing that particular team, but they're supporting the World Cup, and they're not even a normal sponsor. We've got, with the Socceroos, we've got an American Subway brand that paid $4 million across all the national teams. $4 million.
Jeez.
Petty cash.
It is.
Imagine Subway soccer. I mean, why isn't it Adidas? Why isn't it Puma? I mean, Sam Kerr's sponsored by Puma. She's probably getting $2 or $3 million on her own. It's crazy. But it just shows you with publicity. The Telegraph, front page, centre pages.
That's actually unheard of. Yeah, Carlos.
Look, I take the Telegraph with a grain of salt because their level of accuracy and reporting, it is at best questionable. So, they the level of the. But anyway, I'll leave it as that. But I'll take the Telegraph.
I mean, I'm quite
headlines with a grain of
actively
salt.
involved. Carlos, I've got an inside running with all these people because I'm quite friendly with them all. But which part did you think was inaccurate?
No, I'm just saying in general,
Say that about
the
any
quality
media.
of reporting by the Telegraph, it is at best sensationalism, and then partially the truth, but massaged. Okay.
Yeah, I think you've summed up any media platform, whether it be ABC or anywhere. I mean, I refuse to watch Four Corners and Q&A anymore because it's so stacked to suit the narrative that you don't get any balance. The media in the world is just totally shot to pieces. But the point Harry was making is we don't physically get any media in the paper media.
Nothing.
Anywhere. We've just got front page and centre page in the last week. Never before. I've never seen it before.
Exactly what I said, Kenny. We never had this before. And also Tony, and I mean, there's one question you weren't asked actually. Now, in the Qatar World Cup as well, the Qatar World Cup, actually, were people saying out there this should have been Australia's World Cup, that should have been Australia's World Cup? Did you hear anything in the background there? No, I bet you.
I think it's working in News Limited for 30 years. It was a few years ago now, 2010 I finished.
Yeah.
All throughout my time there, all I watched was our football, the real football, get absolutely smashed. And I used to go up with another guy, a Polish guy. We used to go and see the editors, and they just didn't give a toss. And I was good friends with all the guys, Val Migliaccio. I know Dave Dutovnik pretty well, Ray Gatt very well. Same thing. They put their heart and soul into the game, and it just disintegrated in the last 5 years. And you only had to look at the papers in the last week. You had some crap article in yesterday with a single Socceroos shirt in China and all the Messi shirts, and the comment was, no one gives a toss about the Socceroos.
Oh, my God.
And then they had some bloke that I think it was in Adelaide here was up on some sort of assault charge, and the heading was soccer player on assault charge. Nothing to do with soccer.
No.
You know what I mean? But it was just constant negativity all the time. And then you look at, I knew the writing was on the boards, but when all the football writers were made redundant, News Limited 4 or 5 years ago, they were all made redundant at the same time. I knew that was coming. Our game's treated like trash, and I know why. I mean, I get to when I was working for 2 weeks at Herald Sun, overseeing some IT stuff there. I found out that the AFL tribunal and admin was on the 14th floor of the Herald Sun building. I think, that makes sense. So you just realise that, Angelo Pica said, the script writes itself. We have the most kids playing the game than any other sport in Australia. I think 12-1 over AFL. I don't see any Aussie rules goals at primary school grounds or anything like that at all. They're just all soccer goals. But how come, and our clubs are turning away hundreds of players every year because they can't accommodate them. Councils don't seem to want to come on board and support. They will when it comes to AFL. But where we lose out is we are way on top of the junior levels. Yes. But we're not on top. Obviously, AFL's on top of the senior stuff, but it's their dollars that keeps them there. Like Joe said, they're using their dollars wisely to influence kids to go to their games because they can't compete with us, with kids at junior level, but we don't target kids at junior level. Yes, they play the game, they pay exorbitant prices to play, but why aren't they going to games? We have literally the best script in front of us, and all we got to do is implement it. We saw the crowds at the Socceroos games, in Melbourne and Sydney, the way they went mental, and you saw all the people turn up at the grand final. And why aren't they there at every other game? They're there at this one game for a bit of glory, but they don't seem to be at the other games. But we fail miserably on the marketing stage, and we have the recipe, we have the marketing plan already written for us, and it's not implemented. And AFL do fear us, like Johnny Warren said years ago. We are the sleeping giant, but by God, we've got to find a way to wake it up.
Yeah, but we've got just going back a bit. We've pioneers in the game for 50 years. But we had media pioneers with David Jack, Tommy Anderson, John Taylor back in the day. They were unbelievable. They
first class.
Unbelievable. And then you had Johnny Warren had columns, etc., etc. We had. I mean, I did many times on Johnny's show on Channel 7, the Rex Mossop show. There was segments for soccer. We had all that. We had it going, and obviously in the last 10 or 12 years, it's just since we've lost David and we've lost Tommy and John retired. We lost it. We lost the media pioneer, not the playing pioneer. We had pioneers in every section that drove the game. We don't have that anymore.
Kenny,
I mean, Ray's still around, but predominantly, but the point you made about, why are we getting these one-offs? I mean, I said to Harry, we go and watch, Peru, Australia play Peru, and I reckon there was 8, 9, 10,000 Peruvians there.
Yes.
Where are they going? What team are they watching? Where are they all? Where's the Japanese? What are they going to watch? They're all here. We have the biggest multicultural melting pot in the world. Middle class Australia.
Kenny,
we've not got them at the games. Why?
Kenny, tell me why, and Jay should listen to this. Why not us? Watching that game in China, and how many people were wearing, like you said there, Tony, all those shirts, the Chinese guys wearing all the Argentinian shirts. I mean, why couldn't we have had them here? Can you imagine a packed crowd, Joe, here having Argentina play Australia? Can you imagine what would have happened? Why over there? I mean,
listen, everybody's saying the right thing, but I said it before. We have got the biggest football following because forget the kids, right? But where do they all come from? Asians love football. Asians love football. Europeans love football. It's in their blood. You come out of Scotland or England or Italy or Greece, soccer comes first, the family comes second. Now, but I'm just saying to you, well, that's true. It's like a religion.
It is true.
It is true.
Why don't we spend it? And like I said, you've got to treat this. AFL's doing it as a business and making sure that they get bums on seats. Their weakest market, forget, they're strong in Victoria, strong in South Australia, strong in Western Australia. They'll be super strong now in Tasmania. Their weakest market is New South Wales and Queensland. And I've told you, what a close friend of mine said to me, what they do in New South Wales. Our game should be doing the same. You got your marketing dollars, and instead of improving the game, you've made the game go backwards. So one, reinvent the wheel. This is where even James Johnson has got a lot of responsibilities because he should be saying it's not working. You're not going to get 50. You're not going to get anyone putting 25 million for a license, and another 15 to 20 million to run the club, and you're not going to guarantee me another 10,000 people at the game because MacArthur can't get more than 750, and not 750,000, but 750 supporters.
You're being generous.
So now, follow the AFL in one thing. Every junior kid gets jumpers and things. Follow what they do in Asia and Europe because that's where we come from. This country is a and what they do in South America. How many South Americans are living in Australia and go and watch AFL? And for them, when you come out of Peru, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, they've got the real football in their blood and veins.
Joe,
but we've done the best thing to make them watch the AFL, give all those people things, introduce a promotion and relegation. And when they tell me that the second division is going to be running winter and there's going to be huge TV dollars, we've had that in the past. The NSL had to play in summer.
That's right.
Because when they said the TVs would not give them money to play in winter. The A-League itself, James Johnson knows because it was thrown to him in his face, when he wanted to start the A-League in winter, everybody said, well, we won't be giving you any TV dollars because there's no space in winter. So the A-League has to play in summer. And as I said, Channel 10 with Paramount and giving the dollars. But if you said you're playing in winter, you won't be getting any dollars. So to have a whether it's professional or semi-professional competition for a B League, follow where the dollars, where the viewers are going to be. Start in summer. Try to push more Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons where you get families going with kids. Don't worry about your corporate dollars. You're going to get them regardless. Start to get families going on a Saturday and Sunday. I would restrict any B League team to play on a Friday or a Monday. Your games will be on a Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. In summer, let's get bums on seats. Let's get people watching the game. Someone said to me the ticket prizes. Don't worry about the ticket prizes. Yep. Let's give freebies to these kids. Because as we know, the year after, they'll all be wanting to go. Wait until your kids start pulling you by the jumper. We want to go and watch the game. What's the father going to say? No, I'm not taking you.
I think if the rumours are right, and that the strong rumours are about Channel 10 obviously being under extreme duress, and Paramount's going to pull the plug on the on soccer, which normally there's not normally smoke without fire. I would suggest is that we need to have a streaming platform for soccer, and that's where we can actually then dictate when we play, where we play, and how we play. Because like we said before, we have got the biggest capacity at $8 or $10 or $9 or $12 a month that Paramount have just pinched off us. We can do that ourselves.
Yes.
We can do that ourselves. Harry Michaels has been talking about it for ages.
We should be talking to people like Harry Michaels because tell him when he was doing all the production for SBS out of his own pocket.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because he wanted to see the game grow. Now, why didn't they go to Harry Michaels and say, Harry, what's it going to cost you to get all of this on all the production? And I'm sure he would have done it. No, Harry.
Joe.
I'm sure he would have done it at
Joe,
cost. And that we would not be paying what we're paying now for production compared to what he could get it for us.
Exactly what you just said. I had written that as soon as you guys spoke about Harry Michaels, I was writing it down. And I've written this down. And you know what, Joe, and everyone here right now, I'll tell you, he's the only guy that's actually promoting the game from the 25th of June called On the Ball, right? Harry Michaels, he's producing it himself, right? And you know this too, Kenny, and he's doing it.
I'll be there.
You'll be there, definitely. I know you'll be there. But the thing is, for a 2-hour show there, and his football, Kenny, I think Football Australia involved a little bit with it as well, I think. So he's actually come out now starting to promote what's going to happen for the second division, what's going to happen after the women's game too.
Yeah, going back to what I was saying. If we have a soccer platform, right, we could have someone like Carlos does his shows, and he promotes the game like crazy. Why would he have a segment on the platform, every week? He could be doing the NPL, a segment. We could have all the old Captain Socceroo shows that we had through the years with everyone. We could be showing us, overseas stuff. We could have highlights of this. We can have, Craig, coming on, all the E-League players. I mean, it's unending what we can be doing.
Yes.
What we can do. Unending.
Make it a football channel.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, interviews, your shows.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that, but we've got to get the game right. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you watch the EPL and the Scottish League, because I watch the Scottish League, and I watch the Italian League. But now I can tell you one thing. I barry for Newcastle United in England.
Mm-hmm.
And can I tell you, when they were relegating, forget them now that they should be one of the powerhouses in the next 3 or 4 years. When they were relegating, I was up at night time watching every game and praying that they weren't going to get relegated. Now, imagine if we had 14 or 16 teams in the A-League and you had Sydney FC, second last, fighting for survival, Melbourne Victory last, fighting for survival, and you had Melbourne City and the Wanderers, making sure that they were going to get relegated because they're their biggest enemies. Right? Imagine how many viewers you would have on the last 3 or 4 weeks of TV. And let's say you had a Sydney Olympic or you had a Tasmanian team, because all these new licences, put them in the B League. If they're serious that they want to spend $3 to $5 million, you got teams from Queensland and so on. I believe South Australia's got 4 or 5 teams put together, backed by the football. South Australia,
Yes.
Get them all to start in the B League. Get them fighting to go in the A League, and then you tell me how many viewers we'll have watching the game.
Well, you're right. I mean, the EPL, the last 2 weeks in the EPL with Leicester and Southampton and these teams within a point of each other. It was. I mean, you're waking up at 2 o'clock trying to find out what the scores were.
It's true.
Yeah.
So imagine if we had a team from Tasmania, we had the South Australian team fighting to go into the A League, right? And that might give them 2 teams in the A League. And you've got Melbourne Victory on survival, and it's happened that they've finished last, right? And I'm talking as a Melbourne Victory person now. How many viewers would you be having that you've got, we've got the team from South Australia, you've got Sydney Olympic, that they're dying to get into the A League. They're second and third. You've got the Tasmanian, which is first, right? Out of these 3, only 2 are going up, or one of them's definitely going up, and the other one's in a playoff.
Yes.
And you tell me the last 3 to 4 weeks of the A League and the B League, how many viewers will you have? It brings excitement to the game.
Harry, you've got tonight's a Bruce Springsteen night.
Mate, honestly, I have something. What you just said, Kenny, and Bruce. Somebody just sent a message here. Do you want me to read this? Want me to read this? What you just said? What you just said? This guy just wrote. He says, "This guy's Chris Kirkhoff, and he's a Preston supporter. Okay, and you know what they're like." He says, "Bring back SPS coverage. Hire Harry for a 1-hour football." Covering every Sunday for NSL2. My God, what did you just say? He just wrote that then, and you just said that. Oh, my God, guys, this has been a really good show tonight, believe me, boys. And, Joe, you have been like bang, 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 bang. And I can tell you right now, people are listening tonight, a lot of people, even Preston people and everything. So people want to see the show.
Can you ask Joe if he can put up the recipe that he cooked tonight while he's talking? Yeah?
Well, this is the thing. This is what you need, a show like this. You need a show like this to show football recipes. Joe's given us an idea tonight to say,
Kenny will tell you, Preston's was one of the big powerhouses in the old NSL days. Now, Preston brings 3,000 people to an NPL game.
Yeah.
NPL 2, 3,000 people. I'm going to go back to MacArthur, or I'll go one step further. Western United in Victoria cannot get 3,000 people at a semi-final. 3,000, right. Now, let's use common sense. Let's get these clubs there that can bring bums on seats to come to our game. Let's get them involved. We should be uniting the game, not the job for the FA and James Johnson, because I know Chris Nicker deep down would love to see football as a one.
Exactly.
But James Johnson's job is now, I've got to unite the whole football community in Australia, and not only have the A-Leagues one side and the others are the rest. We've got to be united, and let's do what Craig was doing in
Adelaide,
in Adelaide or South Australia, shaking everyone's hand. Mate, we need all of our A-League players going around doing this.
Guys. Quick question for the show. With Tasmania's, I honestly, it did my bloody head in. Why did Tasmania not get a gig years ago when there was an option? Because we lost the market there when the AFL gazumped us and got in. We had that on a plate. Yes. We already know how many supporters and what they think of football over there. And why the hell did we not get a team in from there earlier?
I agree 150%. And in fact, I was one arguing about it. I told people from the FA, I said, don't worry, we're saying no. You've got to remember, they had government that promised them if Tasmania would enter. So before they gave the licence to Western United and and I can't remember who the other team was. They go, but I remember Western United got the licence. Oh, and MacArthur. You had the government of Tasmania that was going to put federal money and state money to build a 25,000-seater stadium for football only, but they wanted a licence in the A-League. So they had this guarantee, and we said, no, what we will do, because Scallop was involved then, he says, we'll take the $16 million off United, I think it was, and Western United, and the $12.5 million out of MacArthur, and we won't worry about the rest. Yeah, because I know that South Melbourne bid it up to $14 million.
Yes.
Now, so what we were doing is, let's worry about cashing in for now, and let's not. So we'll worry for today, but we won't worry for the future.
That's right.
Tasmania should have been granted the licence last time that the two new teams came in. They should have been granted the licence. We would have been in there before the AFL. And you know what? The state of Tasmania, that would have been a pro soccer state.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Sure.
A ground of our own. We haven't. This is one thing that I spoke to Jack Riley plenty of times. He said, if all the players we've got registered, we want to do it. We should be having. Graham Arnold's came out. We need a ground of our own.
Exactly.
We should be saying, let every junior player pay an extra $50 or $100 a year, and they can pay it weekly, $10 a week, and that money goes into a ground of our own. I believe we've got 300,000 juniors at $100. That's $30 billion.
Jeez.
And then with that 30 million, they should be able to provide. And that's what we've got the MCG here. Football Australia should be owning its own MCG for our game. Grounds for all the Australian national teams training, this and that. Because they should be going to state and federal government. Have a bid. Who's going to give me ground and how much money? And we'll be providing for the next 5 years $30 million.
It's amazing what you said, Jay, because
that's not hard sums, because I can tell you something. When Jack Riley came to me and he said, I want to do it, I said, Jack, Mirabella International will give you $10,000 with their eyes closed. And I said, you know how many companies like this will put something to build a ground of our own for this game?
we had a ground, Joe. We had a ground. And what happened to it?
No, we've never, Football Australia has never owned the ground of its own.
I know.
Forget what we have to pay rent on. We own a ground. We should be saying today we own a ground of our own.
The only one we've got New South Wales. We've got Valentine Park that was donated by Charlie Valentine to Football New South Wales.
Yeah.
We had Olympic Park in Melbourne, of course, Joe. You would have played in Olympic Park. And
Yeah.
we could have had that as our ground. That could have been our major. And the FA, or at the time we had Sir Arthur George. You know, they were playing the internationals there, the early internationals there. People were packing the place. I was in 1977 watching Greece and Australia play. My God, it was packed as a young kid. And I'm thinking, this is the ground. This is the ground for the game. And what did they do? They gave it to Collingwood and built Amy Park, of course.
But still, Collingwood's out of there, but they don't own it. They're renting it. What I'm saying is, Football Australia, with the APL, well, the APL has got to keep quiet because Football Australia at the end dictates the game. Football Australia should be saying, I've got 300,000, look, it could even be 400,000 today kids playing the game. I remember 2 years ago it was 320,000. Every player is going to be giving me $10 a week, which is $120. Every registered junior, and that money is not going to Football Australia. That money, or to pay for the CEO or anybody, that money is going to a trustee, and let's get 3 or 4 ex-players or whatever, to a trustee.
Trustees, yeah.
Where the whole money is to build a ground for our game. This way here, when we've had grand finals, Australia Cup, it costs the clubs nothing. And we'll fly the best game of the week, whether it's New South Wales, Victoria or South Australia, and I'd have every state fighting to give us land. Put an auction. You want to see the grand final of the A-League? You want to see Australia, the national team play?
Sorry. Exactly.
Let the states decide who wants it.
It's
you
funny.
see how they'll be killing each other.
And I'll tell you guys, it's really funny that the MLS themselves, the MLS in America, and each club can build their own ground with their money. And it's like, we can't build one ground throughout the country, can he? One ground at least. You know, that's the thing about this.
But what Joe says is true. The state and federal government, we get hardly anything compared to the other sports in federal and state allocation funds.
I know.
You know, it's a disgrace. Considering the volume of people who play the sport,
it's big.
And we're all voters. We're stupid. We're the stupid ones. We don't utilise our strengths when it comes to federal elections, because we should be saying to these guys, hey, you know, as a unity, we can get you so many votes, but you've got to start giving some funding, some state and federal funding. But we don't do it. We as everyone knows, we get no unity. We operate separately. Victoria, New South Wales, you know,
we all kill each other.
That's right. That's what happens. Well, we know in the NSL in the past, but that's the past. Whatever it is, the NSL. But anyway, guys,
I'll tell you one thing about the NSL. And I was involved in the NSL. Right? All the clubs, we used to fight each other who had to win or lose, but all the clubs were united. There is no way that one club would backstab the other club for the benefit of the game. We all were united to see the game grow. The NSL did not have the TV backing or the media backing that the A-League's got. But we all clubs, when we would meet, we would all back each other. So that they were all united until a person called David Hill came into the game and made sure that he destroyed it completely.
That moron.
Yeah. But, so, as I'm saying, and there's no way that the NSL clubs used to bag the state league clubs. They'd work together. So that's what I'm saying. The game was united when the NSL was around. It's not united today.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Joe, I've got to clear it up because my data's, they keep saying the data's going to go. I might have to get a sponsorship from Joe to get more data for this show. That's all. But I tell you what, Joe, having you tonight, and I know you're busy. You're very busy. Mate, the time that you've given us tonight.
I've got to ring up China after this phone call.
Oh, I've got to. We better get out of here real quick. Joe, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I tell you what, the value tonight of having you on, and a lot of people are going to watch this show. It goes to about 40 or 50 sites. So a lot of people are going to be talking after tonight, which is fantastic. And I'm sure that some of these officials.
I hope Barry Michael is watching it.
Oh,
because then I'll tell him to sponsor the show.
Wait till you see. He'll be watching this. He'll be watching it for sure. I'll tell you that right now. Kenny, thank you for joining me tonight, Kenny. Of course, pleasure. Fantastic having you there, Joe. Carlos, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And of course, Tony, thank you very much from South Australia. So we've been all over the country tonight. All over the country. Thanks, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Okay. And everybody out there. Next week, guys, some special stuff happening for you guys as well. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for joining Football List tonight. Guys, it's been an amazing night. Please share this show, and you're going to hear some stuff from Joe Mirabella, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight, guys. A bit more of a show tonight, a lot more. So thanks, guys, for joining me from Football List. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Hey. What a show tonight, honestly. This was massive. We'll see you next week, guys. I've got a big surprise for you guys next week. Let's have a look what happens with this one. Hey! The cup of life, this is the one. Now is it time? Don't never stop. We should have known, gotta be strong. We should have known right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it. I see it in your eyes. You want the cup of life. Night the days here, you're gonna get it. Do you really want it? Thanks, guys, for joining me on Football List. See you next week. Good night, guys. Here we go. Ali, Ali, Ali. Go, go, go. Thank you, good night, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hope to see you. We'll see you next week at 8:30 p.m. next Monday night. Something very special happening. Good night, guys. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called thereisonlyonefootball.com, guys. They've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone. All that sporting stuff you can wear anywhere you want to wear it, guys. That's right. And don't forget the website it's on, thereisonlyonefootball.com.
There is only one football.
Feel it. Here we go, guys. Check it out. If you're listening right now, I've got some great news for you guys. Some people won't be happy. Some people will be happy. Some people won't be happy. You got your opinions, that's fine. Here we go. Check it out. Hey! The cup of life. This is the one. Now is the time. Don't ever stop. We should've known. Gotta be strong. We should've known. Right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it. Here we go. I see it in your eyes. You want the cup of life. Not the days here, you're gonna get it. Do you really want it? Tell me right now, people. Here we go. Ale, ale, ale. Go, go, go. Ale, ale, ale. Tonight's the night. We're gonna celebrate. Here we go. We are the people. We are the passion. We are the history. We come from the NSL, and that's where the NSL is right now, guys. We're going to be back in the NSL very shortly, guys. Thank you, guys. Right now, I just thought I'd come online. If you listen to me right now, guys, I thought I'd come online because I got some great news today, and a lot of people aren't going to be happy, of course. I'm just going to make sure a couple of people get on right now. As you can see, we have a brand new system here. It's looking fantastic. You may be seeing on my right, on my left-hand side, on my right-hand side, I think it is, FA opens expressions of interest for a national football second tier. As far as I'm concerned, it is an NSL. It's an NSL. As you can see, these clubs, these boys on the front here, they're former NSL clubs, guys. Of course, you can see one of the South Melbourne captains there, of course. I'm not going to mention names, but I'm just going to make sure that I get this message out today so everyone can listen to what's happening. And we are putting our hands up. Yes, footballers are putting our hands up to get involved in the NSL, or the second tier, if you want to call it that, guys. We want to be involved. We are talking to people about this, and hopefully it's going to be an amazing journey through the NSL, guys. Well, second tier, if you want to call it as well. So let me just get onto the other site there to actually post some stuff so people can actually listen to this as well. I'd like to read a few little things from the excerpt on the news as well, guys. So as you can see, our sponsors, CCD Lawyers, and There Is Only One Football. Don't forget, guys, as you can see, my left-hand side, right-hand side, these are fantastic shirts that were worn by the NSL clubs. We're hoping that they wear them in the second division. It's the second coming, as far as I'm concerned, as the NSL. You can scream as much as you like, guys, but they're the clubs that made the game. They're the clubs that actually were the foundation clubs of the first competition, national competition in this country, and that's what we're looking for right now. So if you clubs are looking at these shirts, There Is Only One Football, of course, thereisonlyonefootball.com on the bottom there, guys. If you want to get on there and you want to talk to someone about getting these shirts as supporters for your second division or the second NSL coming of the NSL, they're available now, guys, on There's Only One Football. That's where they're available. I'm just going right now to the former supporter sites to put this information up as well. We've got the information up, so if you're listening right now, please check out these shirts. You can buy them online. There Is Only One Football, guys. Have a look at these amazing shirts, guys. You will not find this quality anywhere. So get on There's Only One Football, guys. So I'm just getting onto our